Denied ambulance for 12+ hours. Now I'm paralyzed. I was released from a hospital to a for-profit drug rehab. Active addiction hasn't been an issue for me for years. However, my home isn't necessarily a place which fosters healing. Nonetheless, I cried when I learned that I was going to a place for non-disabled people, as I needed a walker to get around and had extreme pain issues, but I digress. The infection in my spine wasn't fully treated, and on the day that I was transferred, I was in excruciating pain by 9 p.m. Tears just rolling down my face. The rehab didn't have information about my condition or non-narcotic pain regimen, so they pretty much dismissed me. Over the next 10 hours, the pain became so agonizing that I not only knew something was very wrong, but I screamed and pleaded for an ambulance to be called. In the 13 hours this was happening, not one person would listen to me, nor treat me as though I was anything than a drug-seeking hypochondriac. Eventually, at 10 a.m.-ish, the nurse practitioner came to work, took one look at my vitals and immediately called 911. However, by then it was too late. The reason why I was in so much pain was because the infection began to grow, developing enough pressure to literally crush several of my vertebrae one by one. I was screaming in agony because the 2 Tylenol I was given wasn't able to mitigate the agony of slowly having my back literally broken. Now I'm paralyzed from the waist down. I eventually ended up at a local hospital. A guy from the rehab came to the with all of my belongings in a garbage bag and said, "I just realized that we don't work with your insurance. But the good news is that I can find another place for you." Of course, was an empty promise. Do I have any kind of lawsuit here? Edit number 1. Do I have any kind of lawsuit here? I asked. Rereading this post, I realized that the majority of responses answered that question flawlessly, and that an abundance of the answers were a resounding yes, and I couldn't have found better advice, save speaking privately and in person with a lawyer. But for some reason, which I can only boil down to, is that I am in a really crazy and fairly unpleasant situation in which I am feeling emotionally excoriated and confused beyond belief. I totally seemed to, or actually did, forget what I asked, or how accurately it had been answered by this sub. In summary, y'all were right and I was wrong. My sincerest thanks and apologies.